أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى تنزيلا ممن خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى الرحمن على العرش استوى له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وما بينهما وما تحت الثرى. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Taha, we have not sent down the Quran to thee to be an occasion for thy distress, but only as an admonition to those who fear Allah, a revelation from Him who created the earth and the heavens on high. The most gracious is firmly established on the throne. To Him belongs what is in the heavens and on earth, and all between them, and all beneath the soil. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to another edition of Islam for Europeans. Reason number 6 as to why European Muslim sub-communities are needed is cultural and language barriers. Okay, so it's another sensitive topic. I'm going to start off with an example of why a third space for learning about Islam in the West is needed. Okay, now in an undisclosed city that I won't name, there is a city of about 43,000 people. You know, it's a small city, and about 92% white. Now, the first mosque was established in this city in the late 1990s or early 2000s. Okay, now this mosque is actually a boarding school. You may know about the Islamic organization Darul Uloom. So it's basically a boarding school, Islamic school for kids. And this serves as basically the de facto mosque for this small city. Now, in this mosque, everyone is in uniform. So the teachers, the principal, the imam are decked out in full, quote unquote, Islamic clothing. So the gutra and the topi, just straight out of, as if they're straight out of Hyderabad or Karachi. So this is basically what everybody wears when they're there. Aside from some Muslims who come in, Muslim men who come in for the 5 prayers. They just recently established a women's section, but not many women go there. None that I've seen. As far as I can tell, it's completely separate. Now, on top of that, the whole entire mosque has the experience and feel of being in a South Asian environment. So, for example, when they have iftar, everything is unbelievably spicy, like to the max. And on top of this, they have the other things as well. It's just, it doesn't seem like an environment that's conducive to inviting non-Muslims in. Now, this was built out of an old school that had since been abandoned. So I guess the one thing that kind of makes it, the only thing that makes it look Western from the facade would be the design of the architecture of the place, as opposed to the mosques that you see normally in the West, which have the same architecture of those in the Middle East. So non-Muslims generally do not come to this mosque at all, unless they're coming for like construction work and things like that. And even the topics that they talk about, because it's a boarding school, are so advanced that they really do not have any quote-unquote Islam 101 courses. Now, I know what you're thinking. So there's 2 different kinds of schools of thought when it comes to this particular mosque. And the reason why I'm saying this is that because there are examples of this all throughout the West, really. There are definitely exceptions, like you have your umbrella mosque, and some mosques are just awesome in terms of trying to reflect the culture of the place that they're in. Now, one school of thought is that this mosque needs to change. Okay, that they need to start wearing Western clothes. They need to start having more talks in English. They need to sort of simplify their Islamic teachings in order to accommodate the fact that they're in a Western city. There's 40,000 non-Muslims here, and as a mosque, they have a duty to be representatives of the Muslim community. And without this, the entire Muslim community is missing out on what's called a fard kifaya, or a communal responsibility. Okay, so one opinion is that this mosque needs to somehow now accommodate in order to fulfill this duty. Okay. Now, what we're suggesting is an alternative approach. Okay. Actually, the second approach is that they don't change at all. Okay. You keep the status quo. If people want to learn about Islam, they can go online. If they want to take their shahada, you can go to this mosque and then do so. But there's nothing really conducive there to help grow a Muslim sub-community from the ground up. So the second option is to do absolutely nothing. And that's pretty much what's been going on since this mosque was constructed for the last 20 years. Okay, and this is in 2020, by the way. But what we're suggesting, and I mentioned this to the people that run that mosque, is that we need to have either a third space, which is completely separate from the mosque itself, or our own little office space where converts from a Western or European background would be able to at least, take care of this potential responsibility. Needless to say, not a lot of non-Muslims go to this mosque to learn about Islam, and very few of them convert. Okay, I don't think I've ever seen one convert come from this mosque. So they might say, one might say, why should we have to do this? Why should we have to accommodate this if nothing's going to change, if it's going to be exactly the same? My response to that would be it's a chicken or the egg problem. Okay, when they look at this mosque, when non-Muslims look at this mosque and what people are wearing, they think in their head, in order for me to become a Muslim, I would have to dress like this. Okay, this is part of a package deal where if I convert to Islam, I have to pray 5 times a day, I have to fast during Ramadan, I have to learn how to pray, have to stop eating pork and drinking alcohol. But on top of this, when I look at this mosque, everyone's wearing South Asian clothing. All of them are dressed in niqab. And this creates a lot of misconceptions. Now from the other side, they would say, why should we have to do that? I mean, they spend all this money on this mosque. They're the ones who, funded the mosque. They're the ones who continue to fund it. They run the place. Why should it be their responsibility? And it's a good point. I mean, they shouldn't be obliged, at least from a legal angle, to change the way they're doing things. And there's there's always a precautionary aspect to it that they don't want anything kind of Western mixed in, even if it has nothing to do with, even if it's not haram. Okay, for example, and I'll bring this up in the next part of the discussion. But one could argue that they don't want any Western influence. But even if just to have like a dartboard in the basement, to help non-Muslims feel a bit more comfortable, they just can't really see the utility in that. So let me know what you think in the comments section. Should they kowtow and just sort of become more quote-unquote westernized, this particular mosque? Or should we take the alternative approach, and that is keep the mosque the way it is, keep your culture the way it is. You may, if you want to change things here and there, that's perfectly fine. But as an alternative, in order to meet the needs of the entire community that you're a part of and that you have an obligation to, whenever a non-Muslim comes to you or wants to know more about Islam, you can give them our card, you can give them our phone number, and we can meet up with them and we can answer all of their questions. Even better if we had our own little space, a little office space off to the side, away from where the boarding school was, even if it's in the mosque, we can be there as a liaison between those two different communities. So I spent the entire part of part one discussing this, but I think it's important. So feel free to leave in the comment section what you think about this. Do you think that this particular mosque and other mosques of that kind should start wearing Western dress or become a little bit more westernized? Or do you think they should just keep doing the way keep doing the things that they're doing? But as an alternative, we need to have our own spaces in order to meet those interests. On a final note, I want to say that I do really enjoy spicy biryani and Pakistani food. I love it, but not everyone else does. Okay. On to part 2.